to you in episode number 2 of The Cross. This was not a busy week for the news, but it was a busy week in deal flow, and if you want to know more about that, you'd have to register for our site. It's not something we're going to get into in the podcast, but we're just going to look at a couple stories in the news. And one is a situation in the Carolinas, and particularly Asheville, North Carolina, where SpaceX relief has been being blocked. But you have to wonder about the deeper infrastructure play of what's going on here with real estate and insurance, because you've got entire towns in Tennessee and in the Carolinas that don't exist anymore. And they were in FEMA flood zones. When you buy a house in a flood zone, you sign that you're in a flood zone if it's a 3 of 10 or 5 of 10. And the way that the scale works is they say if you're in a, let's say like an 8 of 10, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but you're basically signing that you agree that your house can be completely destroyed. But this will only happen once in 100 years. So everyone kind of says, oh, well, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. It's not going to happen to me. And these 1,000-year storms keep happening every 6 months. So we're talking about either some massive terraforming of planet Earth going on a huge scale, or there's some forces outside of this planet, whatever it may be, affecting the weather. But that's definitely unprecedented, and this is the most devastating disaster in the history of America. And what's weird is that the supply is being blocked. And why would you stop? Like, there was a guy in a helicopter rescuing people, and that guy was arrested. SpaceX contributed out of their own pocket Starlink and other support, and they're being seized. So why would they do that? That's really weird. But the big takeaway for SpaceX, which is really active in secondary markets, it's a huge company, it's very popular, they came to the rescue, and the people who did have Starlinks were the only people who had communication with the outside world. Because when you have a disaster like this, it's a lot like a hurricane, so you've got a chain reaction of failures. So what happens is the power goes out, the cell phone towers don't have power, so cell phones don't work. So even if you have a backup generator, you don't have a signal because there's not electricity within a couple hundred miles or something like that, for example. So Starlink really came to the rescue here, and it's just a showcase of how amazing and impactful Starlink can be. And there's other cases, like in Antarctica, they're using Starlink, in Africa and other remote places. So that's something to look at, and I'm going to post this on our blog. Like I said, it wasn't really a busy news week. If you look on Crunchbase News, the last big news story is the OpenAI, which was, they put the story October 2nd, but that was really last week's news, and we talked about that in the first podcast. A lot of deals going on, a lot of talk of new deals, so not too much to really report on that end, but it seems like markets are picking up. I did have a couple people say I want to wait till after the election, so I don't know if the sentiment is that we're going to wait until November, just with the uncertainty that anything is possible. There's this expression in politics and in markets about the October surprise, so that can be a thing, but it looks like things are forming up to be a really positive year, so that's good for everyone, for markets, for jobs, for Main Street, for Wall Street, for everyone, so that's good. Fed's cutting, and looks like the Fed's going to continue to cut. A lot of positive things happening, and hopefully we'll have more to report next week as far as the news goes. But this week, all eyes were kind of on the storm because it impacted how many states? Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Tennessee is pretty far inland. For a hurricane to come that far inland is and cause that much damage is certainly unprecedented. So it's a pretty wide area that it impacted, and so we've got one more month till the election, and hopefully that'll be a big kind of milestone for markets to take the next leg up. And we look forward to seeing you in episode number 3 of The Cross. Have a great day.